These are the plaintiffs, Randy and Barbara Bush. Randy says he and his wife rented a 3-bedroom home from the defendant, and the guy promised them the world but delivered nothing. He was supposed to complete the construction on the renovation, but never did. They had to move out, and are now out $4,563.50. And that's what they're suing for. This is the defendant, Jeff Adams. He says the plaintiffs were desperate for a place to live, so he let them rent his 3-bedroom house, which was under construction at a discounted rate. The plaintiffs agreed to do some painting and stuff, but ended up complaining about every little thing, so he didn't renew their lease. Oh, the money? No way. He's accused of lousy landlording. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $7,514.70 for unpaid rent, utilities, and damages.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiffs say that they rented a house from the defendant. He promised a bunch of renovations, didn't do them, and now they want their money back. But the defendant says he gave them the house at a discounted rate because they were supposed to make the repairs and finish the renovations. It's the case of a house of troubles.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Randy Bush and Barbara Bush, you are suing Jeff Adams for $4,563.50. He is your former landlord, and according to you, you are owed this money because you overpaid him rent, because you made several improvements. You have a counterclaim against them for $7,514 for rent, unpaid utilities, and several violations you've decided to charge for now. Okay, let me hear from you, Mr. Bush. Actually, who wants to talk? Randy or Barbara, either one.
I could start.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. We met Jeff through mutual friends, and we were in a hard place trying to find a place to rent down here in Cape Coral, Florida. So we did meet him, and he had a place that he was renovating, and after some communication, we did go and meet him at the house, and he agreed to rent us the home. At that point, we did do a walkthrough of the home and look at all the things that needed to be done to it, and it was a great walkthrough. He was super fun and seemed to be a really great guy, and pointed out all the things that needed to get done to the home and all of the renovations that he was doing, and it was going to be an amazing house. But that seemed to change, so we kind of call him the Jekyll and Hyde guy, because some days it's great and he's a fun, super great guy, and the next day it's, hey, if you don't like it, get out of here type
Well, let
thing.
me ask you a question. Did you end up signing a lease?
I had a lease in my hand, and we were doing the walkthrough, and that lease actually sat on the construction table for months, 3, 4, 5 months, and I don't think it was ever completed.
So you were on a month-to-month there?
No, it was supposed to be a year lease.
No, well, if it's not in writing, it's not a year. It has to be in writing. So,
okay.
So if you have there was no physical lease signed. That's what you're saying.
I don't think it was executed. I don't have it, and I believe it was tossed in the construction. I stopped the lease when we were at the page that lists all the items in the home and what is right and what is wrong. And I just said, there's nothing done in the home, so that's kind of where the lease stopped, is in my opinion.
But that's not your opinion. Isn't a matter of legal significance. You either have a lease or you don't. And
I don't have a lease.
Right. And according to you, Mr. Adams, is there a lease?
I wrote a lease and I printed it and gave it to him on the 2nd, and I do not have the signed version of that lease. Correct.
What's wrong with you people? What do you think is the purpose of handing over that document? I mean, it's to fan yourself if it gets warm in Florida? I mean, the idea is to, and the reason that I'm shocked is not because there's no such thing as tenants without a lease. That happens all the time. But you guys who invest $500 in painting the interior of the home, $500 for floor installation in the master bedroom, $500 for the rehab of a boat lift, $125 you want to get paid for mowing the lawn, $100 for patching exterior holes, and 250. I mean, you're doing all this work to the house. It's going to go to someone else's hands. How do you do that when you don't have a signed lease? It's nuts.
Well, I know why he's so successful in business. He's a great salesman. And we
Okay, well, why
walkthroughs,
are you
everything's
so
gonna be
bad at business? Have you figured that out? What goes wrong? You're living there for how long? Almost a year, right?
So yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Judge.
Go ahead.
So we were there for, we moved out March 1st of 2022. So we were there for 11 months.
Yeah. So,
And in the
why
initial,
did you move out?
Jeff came to us on February 1st and said it was putting his home up for sale that he and his wife Rhonda had built, and that's why they moved out of this home and rented it to us. And he said that he was listing his home and he's going to need his house back. He's like, we're going to, because it sold right away.
Were you
And
mad?
so he needed to move back in.
Right.
What's that?
Were you kind of mad because you were happy there and you'd put a lot of sweat equity in there?
Yeah, I mean, I was disappointed because we had plans of being there for a couple of years. In all honesty, we were waiting to find that. We're also real estate agents, so we're waiting to find that.
Oh,
piece
well,
of
if you're
property,
real
right?
estate agents, now I'm really mad at you.
Well, we
so
just
you're
started.
just a second. You're real estate agents, but you have no lease. So if you have no lease, it's not because you're stupid. It's because you thought it was in your best interest not to have one in case you found something better. That's got to be it. Right?
No,
I'm not mad at you. I'm kidding when I say I'm mad at you. I'm not mad at you. I'm saying I'm trying to understand you, and now I think I understand better. Because if you have no lease, you can also give him a 30-day notice, and then you found the perfect place, and then you can just bail. But in the meantime, you want to beautify the place, and you're beautifying it. Why is it that you, who are beautifying it at your own expense, now feel that you should be paid $500 and $500 and $500 and $125, all that money for a renovation of the home?
Well, because the handshake agreement that we had was he was going to charge us $2,200 a month until the completion of the project, and that included the outside.
Okay, that's why you're suing for the $2,400. I'll get to that in 1 second. Right now, I'm asking you, if you painted the interior of the home and renovated the floors and rehabbed the boat lift because you were running a business out of there, right? You have a boat charter company.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Which you can't do. You can't do that. Mowing the lawn, patching exterior holes, pool removal. You want to get paid for all that, but that was never contemplated that you would be paid for all that, right, Ms. Bush?
That was an agreement between he and Randy.
Yeah,
okay.
so no.
Mr. Bush, did anybody ever tell you they'd pay you for all that?
No, and we were fine without that. We were planning on living there for a few years. And
How do two realtors think they're going to live for a few years in a place where they don't even have a right to live 1 year because you didn't bother to sign a lease? How do two realtors really think, I have a couple of years here? How do you think that when you don't even have a month? You don't even have 31 days.
Good point.
Actually, let me rephrase that. You're in Florida. You don't have 15 days. You have 15. Right. You don't have 16 days.
Correct.
That's the notice in Florida, right? So you know that. But let's talk about the $2,400, because that's kind of a different issue. According to you, you were getting a price break in the rent. And you say that's until all of the construction is finished.
Yes.
And what happens?
After a couple of months, he came to us and he said he was tired of doing the construction and that it was going to stop and that our rent was going up to $2,500.
Okay. Go ahead.
So that $2,200 was until the project was completed. And then on June 1st, he said, this is the last month of the $2,200, it now goes up to $2,500. And we questioned that and said, but wait a minute, we thought that was until it was completed. He goes, no, I told you it was 3 months.
All right, so on June 1st, he tells you that June 1st it would go up or that July 1st it will go up?
So April, May, June, so July 1st. Like
July 1st,
he
so
said,
he gave
no,
you
I
30
told you
days
3
notice.
months.
Okay, I got it.
Correct.
And now, Mr. Adams, according to them, you had promised that they would get the cheaper rent until all of the construction, I don't know what that means because none of it is in writing, all of the construction was concluded. Did you ever promise that?
No, I said I would finish the rooms that were not finished, which was the master bathroom and the master bedroom.
Okay.
Because those were rooms that they were not able to use at the time when they came in there. So I thought the lease agreement I drew up was $2,500. Obviously, they never signed that, so they don't have a lease. However, I presented a lease. So that was for the inconvenience of not having the use of the master bathroom and the master bedroom for the 3 months period. Both of those rooms were completed I provided receipts and exact dates for those 2 rooms were completed by that date,
By what date?
June 12th.
Okay. So on June 1st, did you notify them, this is the last month you'll have reduced rent?
Actually, it would have been June 1st, but
I'm sorry,
new
that's what
rent
I said,
started
June
July.
1st. Right,
The new
to
rent
start on
started
July
July 1st.
Right.
Correct, yes.
Right.
Per the terms of the lease that they didn't sign.
Okay.
But I stuck by
Right.
the terms of the lease regardless.
And here's the thing. Did the lease say about how long the reduced rent would be?
No, that was just an agreement.
Yeah.
The rent, the lease actually says, which I've provided, that it's $2,500 a month period
Right.
from day 1 to
Right.
the 12-month period.
Right. See, if a landlord feels like raising your rent just because they're a meanie, they need to give you 30 days notice. That's what he needs to do. And so he did that anyway. The $2,400 of your lawsuit, Mr. and Mrs. Bush, against him is because you feel that since construction was never complete, you want back the difference between how much are you paying? $2,200 and $2,500?
22 to 25. Yes, ma'am.
22 to 25. So that $300 that you paid all the way from July to the last payment in February, you didn't pay for March 1st, and you were there March 1st?
We were not there March 1st.
Okay.
We moved out.
Oh, you said you moved out March 1st.
Correct.
What day did you move out? The last day of February or March 1st?
Last day of February.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, last day of February.
Well, in your statement, you say that it was March 1st. But in any event, let's put that to a side. You want that extra $300. You feel like even though it was always going to be $2,500 a month, it shouldn't have been. You should have gotten your price break the entire time that you were there. That accounts for the bulk of your lawsuit. Now let's talk about your lawsuit against them, Mr. Adams. You are suing for March rent. Why?
Again, I didn't originally sue them, but once they did that, the terms of the lease that they did not sign, so I really don't have a lease, I get it, stated that the 60 days notice they had to pay for that period of time. So that's the last month's rent is what that is.
Yeah, but no, because you don't have a lease, right?
I know, I get that, yeah.
Yeah, well, then don't sue for it. All right, now,
Right,
$279 of unpaid utilities from February 16th to March 31st, but they moved out March 1st, right?
Correct. But
Okay.
if they were
Do
responsible.
you have any proof of the utilities from February 16th through March 31st?
No.
Oh, you don't have them at all? All right. Unauthorized occupant, $400 a month to the tune of $2,000. Tell me about that.
Shortly after they moved in, the lease agreement that they didn't sign, okay, I get that I presented to them, though. Their son, Blake, moved in about 3 to 4 weeks after they moved in, which is a violation of the lease had they signed it.
Did you know that Blake had moved in?
I did.
So then your remedy was to tell them you have 30 days to get out because you're in a month-to-month and you're violating it. So get out. Right. Okay. So
I could have done that, yes.
$2,200 for violation of running a commercial business on the property. Talk to me about that.
Again, per the terms of the lease, it states that they could not run any professional or commercial business out of the property.
Did you knew he was a commercial fisherman, though, right? I mean, not a commercial. I'm sorry, a captain.
I did after he moved in, and I verified that he had a liability policy.
And that was good enough. Once you knew he had a liability policy, you were kind of okay with it.
I was okay with it regardless.
Everybody's fine with everything until you're not, and now you want to everybody wants to charge for all the things they said they wouldn't charge for. I got it. $2,200 for running a commercial business on the property that you knew about and didn't evict them for because you were perfectly fine with it. And now the last of it, maintenance and repairs of the boat lift. What's that about?
So Randy claims that he fixed the boat lift. Per the terms of the lease, he was actually responsible for the boat lift, the dock, and the pool.
Yeah, which is why I'm not going to make you pay him for any of that. But not
right,
because
exactly.
it's according to the terms of the lease, because the lease is non-existent.
Right.
But because he takes it upon himself to spend that, and you never agreed to reimburse him. That's why I'm not going to make you pay him for that.
He didn't spend any money. I have receipts that I provided to you. I spent the money to fix it, and I fixed it. Randy did assist me along with one of his friends, because when you're putting new cables and rollers on a lift, you need people to hold the cables to keep them taut, so that when you pull them up, put the cables on.
You fixed it with him, paid somebody $500, and
no.
So when did the $500 come in? You mean your work is worth $500, or did you pay somebody $500?
No. I spent money on parts. And those are the receipts I provided.
Did that happen while he was living there?
Yes.
So why'd you pay for the parts?
Because I needed to get the boat lift fixed. It was going to make him do it? No.
Oh, well, then
He
why are
wasn't
you
gonna
making
do
him
it.
do it now? If it wasn't contemplated that he would have to pay for parts, if you willingly paid for the parts, why is it that I should impose a legal obligation on him now to reimburse you?
I didn't ask for any money. He sued me.
Okay, all right.
I was willing to walk away without a dime, so I was happy.
On the counterclaim, 0. And folks, regarding your claim, you don't have a leg to stand on. You really don't. When you put that kind of money and love and attention and time into a place, and whether you're a realtor or not, you should know this. Anybody who can string a sentence knows the difference between having the right to live there a year because you signed something and not having the right to live there a year because you used it as a doily for your Mai Tai or whatever it is. Like that's either you have a lease or you don't. And I think you're both smart people, and I think you made a decision. It works for us, works for him, and we'll just all be here as long as we want to be here. As it turns out, you put a bunch of money into it, and then you got the rug pulled out from under you, but in a very legal way, and exactly the way he has a right to do it, because all you had was a month to month. So on your claim against him, 0, and on his claim against you, 0, and I wish you all much luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Fascinating case again about contracts and a lease that was never signed. This lawsuit would have never happened if they realized that. Mr. Ms. Bush, let me ask you, you brought this to court. You sued the defendant. Did you realize how critically important that lease issue was going to be?
Yeah, we had an idea, but it sat there with the construction rubble and never was executed, and that's our fault. I guess both sides' faults. But we just thought we deserved the $300 for paying extra and living in a constructed home at the time.
Let me ask you, Mr. Adams, the lease that wasn't signed again. So what a shame. Are you sorry now you didn't insist on that lease being signed? You learned something, haven't you?
I signed 2 copies of the lease, and I have my signed copy of the lease. They did never sign the lease. So, at some point in time, it's kind of like they let it sit there for 3 months. Why? I don't know. I should have asked for it every day, I guess, or threatened to evict them.
You sure should
honestly,
have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as I say, you learned the lesson the hard way. All right, folks, that'll bring an end to this case. A 0-0 tie here in the People's Court for both parties. Harvey?
So, Doug, we encounter this a bunch. Sometimes you don't have a lease, and sometimes you have a lease, but the lease expires when you rent a place, and then you don't sign a subsequent lease. So what's the deal in a situation like that? Well, in both cases, most judges and most states treat them as month-to-month leases. So if you had a lease, for example, and it expires, but you just stay there, then it's considered month-to-month. And that still means that you have to give 30 days notice before you bail, but that's the law.
If I ask a company to stop calling me and they call 3 or 4 times a day and I have it on my caller ID, can I sue them for harassment?
It sounds like somebody owes somebody money. Yeah, you could sue them for harassment. You can sue them for the tort of outrage, for all kinds. Just throw the kitchen sink at them.
I mean, I got rid of my home phone because of because just the nonstop. It just doesn't stop. It doesn't matter whether you put it on a do not call list. Yeah. Nothing matters. They just keep calling, and now it's happening on the cell phone.
With your cell phone, you can block, can't you?
You can block, but how many times a day?
Nobody ever calls me. That's why I don't know about blocking.
How many times a day do you get spam risk on your cell phone?
At least you get that little alert. It lights up and it says spam risk.
I mean, does anybody actually conduct business that way? Does anybody make money that they must, or they wouldn't just be so relentless?
You're not going to make friends that influence people by just calling them over and over and over and over.
Right.
It doesn't make you want to buy their product or their service.
No, it really doesn't.
But really, it does have the smell of maybe somebody is owed money, because why would they be so relentless?
Because that's what companies do. I don't think it necessarily means they're owed money. And even if you're owed money, the debt collection law says if I tell you stop calling me, you must stop calling me.
Is that right?
Yes.
As a former bill collector, you should know, right?
Yes. I was a former repo man.
That's right.
When I was 18 years old, because I had a nice deep voice, so the bank would let me collect on debt on the phone. They didn't let me. I weighed 100 pounds soaking wet, so they wouldn't allow me to do anything in person. I used to sometimes sneak and do it anyway because it was fun.
Ride-along?
Yeah, ride-alongs. But No, you can't. If I say, don't call me anymore, I know I owe you money, stop calling me, you got to sue me. That's your next step. Your next remedy is to sue me, not to continuously call. So.
Yes, so.